You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Barbell Logic. This is Beast Over Burden. I'm your host, Nikki Sims. I am the CXO at Barbell Logic, and I'm a coach. And with me is Andrew Jackson. He's the COO.
Hello again.
Barbell Logic, fellow coach. How's it going?
Outstanding.
Outstanding. You are inside sitting.
Oh, that's true. I'm in sitting.
Sorry, it was a horrible
But
joke.
Stealing my dad joke thunder.
Yeah. Andrew just moved.
Long weekend. Knocked out the bulk of it in about 4 hours with a couple of movers. First time I've hired movers. I used to be a professional mover.
Yeah.
Worked at a company called Power Movers out of Kirkland, Washington.
So to be a professional mover, does that just mean you get paid for moving other people's furniture versus bribed? Yeah.
Yeah. It was for actual cash monies.
Yep.
Not just a 6-pack of beer and a pizza, which I've also helped people move for that compensation.
I'm dying to know what the expressions were like on your movers' faces when you rolled up the garage door and they saw the gym equipment. Was there any reaction?
I had warned them, and I had also flashed a couple of $100 bills in front of them. So they were more than happy to oblige.
That's really nice.
I was a little bit concerned because the company I worked for back in the day was called Power Movers, and it was 2 bodybuilders who put themselves all over the marketing. And then, of course, they would go hire college kids to do the actual movie.
And college Andrew was much thinner than present day Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, I was 200, 210. But I mean, by normal people standards, me and my buddy Kevin would do it. We were both up here in Seattle area for a rowing camp. That was like an Olympic prep team. Not that I was anywhere near that, but there were a lot of guys that would do this camp every summer at University of Washington. So we were up here doing this camp. And during the day, because we all get up at like 5 in.the morning and go out on Lake Washington, row for a few hours. And then during the day, we'd go move furniture all day. So 2, 6-foot plus guys, 200 plus pounds. We were legit, but we didn't look like bodybuilders.
I think you fit the criteria.
Walk in the door with our boots on and look legit enough.
So you show up. You guys are 2 college athletes.
Young, strapping, attractive young men, fresh off of the water, just sweating, glistening, ready to please our customers. And the brutal part of that job was people, and I will put myself in this camp after this weekend, people have no bleeping idea how much work it takes to move a house. And this was in the greater Seattle area. It was all over Seattle, Kirkland, Redmond, Shoreline. I mean, it's a huge metropolitan area, a lot of big houses. And people so this is the kind of gig, and this is the same place, the same type of thing I just paid for. You get 2 people or more, but they quote the job, and then you pay for the hands basically, and then it's your responsibility to go get the truck. So we'd drive up to this house, like a 3-story, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3-car garage house, and they haven't touched a thing. Like,
no,
we had to do the packing.
No,
we had to do the moving.
No. What?
It was so brutal. I can remember one of these houses, we didn't get done until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And my fingers were smashed flat. Like the skin, like the flesh on my finger was flattened from carrying stuff all day.
Oh my God.
And we didn't even have proper equipment, really. It was just you show up with your car, you and your buddy. And sometimes it'd be a 4-person team. But man, if they didn't quote it right, it was brutal. But anyways, so these guys show up. And I warned him, I was like, look, guys, this apartment is going to be the easiest move ever. We've, Claire and I had cleared out all of the boxes. So all they had to do was a few pieces of furniture that I didn't want to do by myself or with Clara. We could have.
Yes.
But we didn't. We chose not to. We bought back some of our time.
Yes.
As we talked about earlier this month.
Voluntary unhardship
That's
yourself.
Right. But I said, once we get this done, I got a little bit of a doozy for you. A couple 1,000 pounds of gym equipment. And it's going to take us a minute. So I underestimated even moving the apartment. I thought it would be easy. But they actually had a bit of took probably an hour and a half to do the apartment, which kind of surprised me. The bed was the worst. This was part of the reason why I got movers is I didn't want to deconstruct I have one of these like stackable foam mattresses so that you could actually deconstruct it into 2 twins or whatever, full-size beds.
Yeah.
And they ended up just wrapping this thing up like a taco. And then they used the shoulder harness thing. And it was still, I was watching these guys. It was still a bear to get in and out of the house. I felt a little bit bad about that because I could have taken it apart for them. But these were not bodybuilders, put it this way. They were about half an Andrew. These are Bellingham folks that probably could have done some weight training. But anyways, we got through it.
They did that day.
They earned their Benjamins and definitely would have taken significantly longer had I not gotten some help. So that was Friday, and then the weekend is just all unboxing and all that kind of fun stuff. So you can see in the background, like the pile.
Yeah. So how do you think your training is going to go after?
I think so. Well, I did end up lifting. I usually am on like a 4-day split. I compiled them into one full body workout. I was surprised. I'm trying not to say it out loud, but the thought did cross my mind that I'm feeling, I don't want to say feeling older or feeling the age, but I was like, that move took more out of me than I anticipated.
Yeah. And like less than 24 hours recovery.
Like my back was pissed.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure it was.
It was like locking up, like I had just tweaked it.
Oh God.
All like Friday night after the move. Like I was trying to, like you've had this before where you just move wrong. Like you sneeze or you sit down on the chair weird or you do nothing and your back's just like, hey, what up? Stop moving.
My back hurts the most after I get a massage. You've had to physically help me get off of massage tables and even sit up because it completely locks up.
Yeah. That's what I was doing on Friday night after the move. And so I had delusions of grandeur that I was going to lift before the move and then after the move, but the day got away from me. So I didn't get to lift before the move, which is probably a good thing actually, because it was so much work.
Yeah.
But just last night, I finally got put one together because I was like, if I don't squat and do a little press and maybe some chins, then the next workout's going to really suck. So
yeah, because you're listening to this on the other side of Thanksgiving, but we're recording this right before Thanksgiving, a couple days ahead of time. So yeah, preparing for that.
I've always trained through moving. I recommend it. I just think there's just something about particularly squatting.
Yeah, it feels like a nice stretch for you, huh?
Yeah, if I don't squat, if I go too long without squatting, the body's just like, you don't ever need to get into that position again. And then how dare you when I try?
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, that's the big news here.
Well, this is the time of year when I think it's good to talk about nutrition.
Always.
We've done it before.
Every year.
And this is the season of eating, and it's a wonderful time of year. And it's often time we get questions from our clients. I even posed a question to my nutrition client, just checking in on how they're feeling about the approaching days of feasting. And I think there are lots of different strategies, different mindsets, and it'd be interesting to go into that and see if we have any different thoughts on it this year.
Well, that's a great way of framing it in a couple of different ways. One, yes, we do talk about it, but it's been a year probably. I mean, I remember doing a holiday episode last year where we were talking about stacking days, or like trying to think about the total number of days.
It's like from the day before Thanksgiving to like Super Bowl.
We even said before Halloween.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you got to factor in the Halloween candy. It was like Halloween to Super Bowl.
Yeah, that doesn't really get to me, but yeah. Yeah. Just a long
Oh, you haven't been seeing in the VFDs all the Halloween candy?
No, I don't have that many people.
I still got clients working through Halloween candy or their kids' Halloween candy.
So yeah, that's 4 months of potentially caloric surplus. So that's like, what is that, 25% of the year potentially
Yeah.
in a changed habit?
So we talked about that last year, but it's been a year. You've learned some things. You're a different coach than you were then. And I'm curious what, if anything has changed, or if not, what are the conversations that you find yourself happening or having this year?
Well, I think last year we were talking about this a lot around my intention and what I ended up doing was going on a pretty strict nutrition plan from January 2nd through my birthday in March. And that went really well. And I'm glad I did that because that was still a good chunk of time for the year to be in a pretty controlled state and was able to see how responsive my body was to it. And it was good.
Gives you confidence.
Yeah.
That you could do it again.
Yeah.
Or like it's a lever you could pull whenever you want.
Yes, which I will. And I did another couple times during the year. But when you think about it that way, the year starts feeling really short. And, it takes, that was like a good 8 weeks of pretty tight nutrition.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up losing like 3 or 4 pounds, which is a lot for me. And that's enough for me to visually be different. But then when I think about, okay, end of October through Christmas, that is a long time as well to much more easily eat in a surplus.
Yeah.
Like for the amount of time that I spent in a deficit January 1st through March 9th or whatever it was, if we took that same amount of time and eaten that much of a caloric surplus through the end of the year, that's significant.
You could eat the equivalent surplus in like 1 week, I would wager.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, without a doubt.
Like, what do you think your deficit was over the course of 8 weeks? 30,000 calories?
I don't know. I can't math that on my head right now.
Because you were only like in a couple of 100-calorie deficit per day, roughly.
Yeah, it was just a couple hundred. It wasn't that much.
So let's say it was a 200-calorie deficit, which, I don't know. So that's actually only 11,000 calories.
Yeah.
So if it was 500.
Which, we'll eat that on Thursday. Like I'm going to eat 11,000 calories this week on one day.
That's actually very possible. Depending on how many breweries we go to.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think between the beginning of the year, going through that and the end of the year now, and just doing this year after year after year. And funny enough, even what you were saying about moving a big house is like, when you live in a big house, you don't realize how much stuff you just bring in. You just bring in little things. You bring in this little side table.
I wasn't even living in a big house. I was in a 2-bedroom apartment. I thought I have nothing. And yet I kept pulling stuff out. I'm like, what is this? Why do I have this?
This just comes in one little thing at a time. And that made me think of eating, where it's just like, well, eating and training, it took me 39 years to get into this physical state. I sure as hell better be patient when I'm trying to change that physical state, because it's also 39 years of habits. It's a huge 5-bedroom house of habits and things
it's
and
also,
memories.
You're fighting against biology here as well, because on one hand, I could show you the math. Like that's a very stark comparison to say, if you're in a 200-calorie deficit every week for 8 weeks, which is pretty dang tightly controlled. Like you don't have a whole lot of margin for error to maintain that kind of level of accuracy. You've only been in total an 11,000 calorie deficit. To accumulate 11,000 calories of excess intake, like I said, you could do that in a week without even trying.
Yeah, for
Couple
sure.
of pizza
I'm sure
nights.
I did it in Budapest. Yeah.
1 tankard of Aperol Spritz.
Yeah. True story.
And not only that, but on the deficit side, your body is actively fighting against you to lose that weight. You're wired to retain calories so that you can live longer, without food.
And I train in a way that is like, it's generally to build.
Right. And so meanwhile, while you're trying to cut body fat and your body is resisting that change
Sure.
the whole way down. So it's like this really tough sled that you have to be super patient with and super consistent with over a relatively long period of time. I think that's a really interesting insight, what you just said there, that it makes the year feel really short.
Yeah. And it makes me want to like still have a really enjoyable time during the holidays. I'm not going to change that. But on the days where there's like nothing extra and I don't need to, I'm not just going to indulge for the sake of indulging because I have days blocked out to do that, you know?
Yeah. I think that resonates with me personally, and also with the advice that I find myself giving my clients lately is to not track or control or regulate at all on the
Yeah.
big days, like the Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday party. Like, unless you have ultra specific physique goals on a specific timeline, I suggest not paying attention. However, outside of those, I personally and often recommend that the quote unquote baseline diet be a slight deficit is my preference.
Yeah. I think I didn't encourage that last year, but now I do.
I mean, if you're not sure what that looks like, you might need to start with a week or two of weighing and measuring.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that people on the quote unquote baseline are eating relatively consistently. I mean, I think that goes back to one of our earlier episodes where I think that is a huge beneficial strategy, is to have a baseline that is relatively consistent so that you can manage more carefully, or at least more predictably.
You have something.
I mean, if you don't have that kind of consistency, you probably do have to weigh and measure all the time. But if you have a general sense of, your rough structure that you go to on your normal days, and I include weekends on this. Now, if somebody's out there saying like, yeah, Monday through Friday, I'm on a pretty consistent structure, but then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I completely blow the doors off, we're not on the same page. When I say baseline, I'm saying 7 days a week. That's pretty much what you're eating within, some margin of error. And then, maybe once a week, maybe at most, maybe it's every other week, or maybe it's just these holiday parties. Don't worry about it.
Why not worry about it?
On the holidays?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people exhaust sort of like a decision fatigue.
There can be some resentment.
So going back to what we talked about before, in terms of what I try to get to with my nutrition coaching strategy, is I like to help people build habits that feel good, that they eat that way. Yes, because it supports their fitness goals and their body composition goals, but really ultimately because they feel better doing it. And I take breaks all the time from my structure, but within a few days, I don't like it anymore. Like when we went to Mexico, by day 3 or 4, I was like, I don't like this.
Right.
Like, yes, I can convince myself the food tastes good and I'll continue to eat it. Gosh darn it. But it doesn't feel good on me, in me. Like I start craving my normal diet. Like I can't wait to get home.
Feeling hunger. Yeah. Yeah.
And I put the holiday meals in the same category. Like, that doesn't feel good to go to a holiday party with friends and family during the big, once or twice times of year where you only have a limited number of these in your life. I mean, that's true for everything, but like, especially those. And then you have to be like, oh, sorry, grandma, I don't want to eat your mashed potatoes because, I'm on a diet.
Get the grandma guilt trip, but I'm only going to be alive a couple more years. May never get to eat these again.
I mean, my grandma, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, used to make potato rolls from scratch. And I would slather those things with butter. They were so freaking good.
Yum.
Homemade potato rolls.
What is a potato roll?
It's
bread.
It's a bread roll, but like with kind of some sort of potato. I should know the recipe, but she called them potato rolls. I don't know what the heck's in them, but they were freaking good. And I would just bury it in butter. And now she doesn't make them anymore. Those are over.
It's so funny how much you like give Clara the side eye when she buries things in butter. There it is.
I tell her she comes by her butter, ice cream, and cheese cravings, honestly. I'm trying to be a dad here. It's true. It's true. I'm a hypocrite.
Well, to go back to what you were saying, I agree that it's special, and I think it's worth letting things be special, or else you can get kind of resentful of your choices and then do things that are like acting out, and that doesn't feel good either.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing, is that because I think that will, in the long run, if you're going to go back to being, what the objective goal is, in the long run, you'll eat less calories. Have the blowout day, but it doesn't even have to be a blowout. I don't know why I keep saying it like that, but it's just like, don't foie gras yourself or whatever it's called. They force feed the duck until their liver explodes. Like, I'm not saying you should do that.
Yeah.
But even in that, I think there's a perfect examples that I've noticed when I prioritize feeling good, then I don't go insanely crazy on Thanksgiving or whatever day. It's just like, you focus on enjoying the food and feeling good and having fun and enjoying your company.
And enjoying not eating too. That's the thing.
Or not eating. And that seems to actually solve a lot of the problem, at least for me, instead of feeling like, okay, I've got to weigh and measure my turkey breast and my mashed potatoes. And then I even lose sight of enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even paying attention as much to the food. But that's my 2 cents.
And yeah, another caveat, like, again, if you have a really strict goal or bodybuilding competition on the other side of Christmas, clearly these instructions are not for you.
If you want 6-pack abs by January 8th, you might want to have a more specific plan.
Yeah. Yes.
The one thing that I will say or reiterate that just continues to feel good the more I do it is walking after eating. And this is another one where it's just because it feels good, especially if I have a big meal. I love going for a walk. And I also notice I can eat more.
Yes, it does help you get hungry again for the next meal. So you can enjoy the next meal more. I find
myself being like, I just think I need to go for a little 10K here so I can...
Yeah.
Not because I'm trying to burn calories, but because I
just want to be hungry again.
Yeah. I want another vat of food in 3 hours. So
we have our travel plans coming to New Mexico, and one of our biggest problems is we don't have enough time to eat at all the places where we want to eat.
Drink at all the breweries we want to go to.
Yeah, it's really challenging. Yeah, life is hard. Enjoy it. But yeah, keep moving, keep training, plan ahead, and hopefully and if you haven't done it this year, you can get started, or you can do it next year, is establish a baseline of what a day, week, month of eating looks like, how you do it, and how that makes you feel, so that you can have the awareness and feeling of a type of good feeling that isn't tied to an emotional relationship with food, but it's tied to, being energized and sleeping well and being at a body composition where you're comfortable, where it's tied to that versus some sort of instant gratification thing from eating an entire sleeve of Oreos or whatever it is, where you're just like, fuck it, I'm eating this. Those exist. I have them. It's okay. But it's nice when you have power over that and know what a different kind of good is.
The thing about eating the sleeve of Oreos or the entire pizza, both of which I've done multiple times, is that I don't actually it gets into this interesting rhythm. I don't even feel like I'm actually enjoying it or even noticing that I'm doing it.
Oh yeah, because they don't taste it. The first one always tastes really good. And
well, yeah, it's taste initially, but then it's like it starts scratching some other itch.
It's like the chemicals in the food. I would not be surprised if it was just the chemicals in the food.
I don't know what it is, but I never get done and I'm like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed the hell out of that entire sleeve.
I hate myself a little bit right now.
I enjoy the first 3, and then it's some sort of almost addiction kind of craving thing that it scratches, and then by the last 2 or 3, I'm just like, this is a bad idea. Like milk on a hot day.
Milk was a bad choice.
One last thing before we go. We have 2 minutes before our 30-minute pumpkin time. Training, I'm curious if you have given any, or if you have any go-to favorite strategies for training around Thanksgiving. Are you a morning workout person, day after? Do you PR? What's your actual lifting strategy?
That depends on where people are going to be. And I think some people have this illusion of Thanksgiving Day that doesn't always align with what it actually is.
Hmm.
Like we're in this mode right now where we're putting things on our schedule, we're getting things done, we're planning. And then we kind of switch gears into holiday mode. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm not going to go do that on this day. Maybe I'm not going to drop into some Planet Fitness that's 15 minutes away that I've never been to before.
Right.
Or maybe they are. Maybe you are. It's totally okay. But I've found that if you want to do it, figure out what it would take to go do. Find the gym, tell your coach, have a workout, have your workout clothes, know how you're going to get there. Because you might wake up and be like, absolutely, this is exactly what I feel like doing right now.
You're assuming like a travel situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like some people have a Thanksgiving like tradition. The gym will open for 4 hours and do some barn burner turkey day workout or something like that.
Yeah, I would because it feels really fun. Just because it's fun.
My preference is pre-travel or pre-Thanksgiving. That could be either the day before or the morning of. I like relatively high volume, moderate intensity, full body. Again, because it makes me hungry and I can eat more. That's really what like I just, especially like big squats and big deadlift volume, don't know what it is. Like that just really gets me ready to eat.
Yeah.
And physically like kind of exhausted, which feels good to just then lay around and just go full Jabba on the couch. Andrew Jackson, health, strength, and fitness nutrition expert. So anyways, I like to go high volume, moderate intensity.
We haven't said the name of one vegetable on this episode. We talked about butter, Oreos, and pizza, and potato rolls.
Sleeves of Oreos, milk on a hot day. Anyways, moderate intensity, high volume. And then post Thanksgiving, I like high intensity, low volume, like use the calories to have fun kind of days.
Use the bloat. Yeah.
Use the bloat. May the bloat be with you.
Happy Bloatsgiving. I feel great for a squat, not so much for a deadlift. That feels terrible.
In this month alone, I've talked about laying on the beach like a pile of melted cheese and then laying on the couch like Jabba the Hutt. Health.
I gotta say, Andrew is very fit. I can totally tell you, looks fit, acts fit. He doesn't look like a melted pile of cheese. I will say that right now.
Well, I'm definitely peak fluff. I'm ready to Jabba for, a weekend.
And then an additional
and then get back to my baseline and get back to my baseline deficit. But I think I'm going to join you on that Q1 recomp, assuming you're doing that one again.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to be turning 40 in March, so I want to make sure I have abs on my birthday.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it.
Although I am sad because I know my butt measurement's going to go down. I have to think about that one.
And what if Detroit goes to the Super Bowl? You're going to give yourself
Oh, man.
You're going to give yourself a day off?
Of course.
You know what we should do is plan a refeed for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. And
anyway,
thanks to another episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of Melted Cheese Java Logic. Oh man, need to go on vacation.
Well, everybody, we will be here next week, a little fluffier, just as happy, and thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.